And welcome to another episode of Food Systems in Season. We are excited to have another week on the network. And today we have Dr. Bill Lester, and we also have Dr. Stacy Strickland, who are going to be sharing with us today all things gardening and maximizing food production, 5 acres and 5 square feet. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the doctors.
Okay, we never figured out who was going to go first and who was going to go second.
Age
You know
before
what?
beauty, Bill.
I'll go ahead and go first. So good morning, everybody. Let me go ahead and I got a couple slides here with some pictures to kind of reinforce what I'm talking about. So let me get a little organized here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that anybody can do, any homeowner or Florida resident can do in 5 square feet on their property. So if you live in an apartment, if you live in a condo, or if you live in a new home development with a homeowners association and a zero lot line yard, not a whole, bigger than 5 square feet outside, but not a whole lot of space. And maybe your neighbors don't want you plowing up your entire front yard planting corn. That's okay. There's still plenty of things that you can do to produce some food at home and help to kind of build up your family's food systems. So, ways that you can become more self sufficient, you can raise your own fresh food. Whenever emergencies come up, you're going to at least be able to produce a little something. So, I had just a couple different ideas here, and some of them you might have are kind of common sense, not that dramatic, but one or two are a little bit outside of the box, I think. So, you can grow vegetables in containers very, very easily. Um, a lot of times you don't need that much space and you really don't need huge containers. And really, something as small as a 1 gallon container or a nursery pot, you can grow individual herb plants in, a couple lettuce plants, greens. If you want to grow more lettuce, carrots, green beans, cucumbers, you're going to need a slightly larger pot, at least 3 gallons. And if you want to grow tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants, you can grow those in containers. I do them. I have a couple containers of eggplants right now, but you're going to want to use at least a 5 gallon container. So 5 gallon pot doesn't take up a whole lot of space. If you're thinking, well, those black pots are ugly, spray paint them like in this picture here. You can decorate them. Great project for kids to work on to make them look a little bit more attractive on your back patio or back porch. So another idea of something that you could do is you can grow hydroponically with vertical gardens. And one of our speakers last week, Jeremy Roden, talked about this at length, all kinds of home hydroponics you can do. But looking at something you could do that only takes up a small amount of space, maybe 5 square feet, is one, either a vertigrow tower like pictured on the left. And what these are is styrofoam pots that stack on top of each other, and you hook up irrigation to the very top. The water goes all the way through the pots and then all the way back down to the ground. These take up very, very little space. They have a very small footprint, but you can grow a lot of food in them. And they have other systems also. The one in the center there is aeroponic garden. They're a little bit more expensive, but you can grow a large amount of food in them. And especially this time of year, as we're going into fall and winter, if you put this on your back porch, your pool lanai, even on a cleared out or paved spot in your backyard, with the beautiful cooler weather we're starting to get, you're going to get a lot of food for your time and trouble. Like I said, it could be a little bit more expensive, but probably worth the money if you're interested in that. Something most people don't think about is raising bees. And we have had classes on this in the past. When I get a chance, when I get done here, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat, a link to one class that we did in the past in Food Systems in Season on raising your own bees. But a beehive does not take a whole lot of space. Now, obviously, if you live in an apartment or condominium, and you have neighbors very close to you, they may not appreciate you raising honeybees. There are a number of rules that you have to abide by. Technically, if you're raising bees or you have bees, you need to have them inspected by the state of Florida. It's not a very difficult process, but they check your bees to make sure they're healthy, to make sure they don't have any kind of terrible parasites or diseases they may be spreading to other bees in the area. But it doesn't take a whole lot of space. It does take a lot of learning. So we always recommend people don't start with going out and buying a beehive and a bunch of bees and then learn afterwards. You want to learn and read a lot of University of Florida information about how to go about raising bees, make sure it's right for you, and then go out there and purchase the equipment and the bees. Fortunately, University of Florida has a fantastic bee raising department up there in Gainesville. They have a lot of really good information, a lot of classes. Every year they have a couple day long set of classes for people to get hands-on knowledge. These are a couple of university students pictured here inspecting beehives. So it's not difficult, but you want to learn what you're doing before you really get into it. And something else that you could do is, let's see, our little background is covering that a little bit, but you can swap out some of your landscape plants for other plants that look attractive and serve the same purpose, but you're going to be able to eat. So in the picture here, kind of on the bottom right-hand corner, is purple fountain grass, which is an attractive ornamental fountain grass. Very, very common. A lot of people have it in their landscape. A lot of builders use it when they're building your house. So maybe you inherited it when you purchased the house. Well, you could pull that up and you could put in something like lemongrass, which is edible. You could take the leaves and you roll them up into a bundle. You can make teas with them. A lot of information online about how to do that. But you can actually get rid of the attractive ornamental plant and put in something that's edible and still attractive and ornamental. Just last week, we had Dr. Norma Samuel on here speaking about raising sorrel. Sorrel is a hibiscus. It's a variety of hibiscus. Gets a very pretty dark red hibiscus flower on it, generally late summer, early fall, so this time of year. But if you have a hibiscus in your yard, why not swap out one that you can't eat for one that you can eat? That way, the neighbors won't complain. The homeowners association won't send you a letter saying, oh, you have, edibles in your yard. That's going to cause all kinds of horrible problems. So switching from an ornamental hibiscus to a sorrel is a great idea. A lot of people have either bedding or border plants along the edge of their flower beds, and they may be flowers, they may be small ornamental plants, things that are attractive and kind of fill the flower bed and make the whole look overall look really good. A lot of those you can replace or swap out with small vegetable plants. So during the fall and winter, you could put in different lettuces, and keep in mind, you can get green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce, red and black and white speckled lettuces. So a lot of them are very attractive. Also, you can grow kale. You can grow a wide variety of different green leafy vegetables as we go into winter. So this is one of those things that you have to kind of hope that your neighbors and the HOA committee won't notice and possibly call you on. But as a general rule, if you have just a small number of them and you keep them looking tidy, nobody's going to complain. And a great way to get a little bit of, fresh homegrown vegetables out of your front yard. And here's a picture of the sorrel or roselle. This is a type of hibiscus, and that is what the flowers about to open look like. Very, very pretty dark red. And also, you can grow edibles in hanging baskets. A really good one to grow in a hanging basket is going to be strawberries. And strawberries, you really need to find the plants right about now and get them planted to get them growing, and they're going to flower. You're going to pick your strawberries from about December all the way through spring. But you can see in the other picture here, these are hanging baskets that have peppers in them. So you don't have to grow a whole lot of peppers, and the plants don't have to get really huge to get a good variety of hot peppers, banana peppers. They don't take a lot of space. If you go to the stores or look online, there's a really wide variety of different containers you could purchase nowadays, hanging baskets in different shapes, sizes, colors. So there's a lot of great variety out there to pick from hanging baskets. And of course, that's going to look attractive also. So because you don't want to be growing edibles in your yard and have them not look attractive for you and for your family and for your neighbors, but doesn't take a whole lot of thought or effort to get at least a little something growing in your yard in just a small area of only 5 square feet, which is a fairly small spot. So that's about all I had there. Let's go ahead and get Stacy back here and get Wendy back there also. And I think she might have disappeared on us. So there we go. There's Wendy. She came back on.
Okay. So, Bill, are you load up that presentation?
Yeah, let's go ahead. When you want me to change slides, just tell me.
Okay.
And let me get me off the screen here. And when you want me to try playing the video, tell me. It'll take a moment, but I'll give it my very, very best shot here. We always run across little technical difficulties, but we usually get past them.
Okay. Sounds good, Bill. So Bill was talking about what to do on 5 square feet, and I'm an ag agent, so usually what I'm talking to people about are larger tracts of land, and even 5 acres is a lot, especially in a residential situation, but that's still a relatively small area. But I've seen 5 acres be very profitable. So next slide, Bill. So actually, and by the way, so I work with Deseret Cattle and Citrus in Osceola County. That is the largest ranch in the United States by cow numbers. So you have one of the agents working with the biggest ranch in the United States talking about 5 acres. So I'm going to give it my very best. But number one, when we're talking about 5 acres, it seems like a lot of land in some cases. But the first question you have to ask yourself is, what is the goal of this enterprise that you want to do? Number one, is it for profit, which is kind of where I'm going to go with this presentation. I'm going to go over the first 3, which is profit or break even or feed your family and friends. So that's going to cost you money, but it's going to save you money at the grocery store. Or do you want to lose money? No one wants to lose money, but in the case, this is AI generated, so so you see the horse eating the money. A lot of times when we see 5 acre paddocks, those are going to be, a lot of times those are horses, and those are companion animals. So it's kind of like you spend a lot of money on your dog when you take it to the vet, and your dog's feed bill is going to be pretty high, especially if they have any of the special foods. So you're going to lose money on that type of endeavor. But keep in mind, when we do have horses, especially here in Central Florida, we're probably grazing them on Bahia grass. So 5 acres is not enough land for 20 horses. 5 acres of land is going to be good for about 2 horses. If you do have any more than that, you're going to want to have a sacrificial paddock that you can that we know is going to turn into dirt, because the horses will pull up that Bahia grass by the roots. But we're not going to focus on horses today. Just know that's kind of a money losing endeavor, but it's essentially a companion animal. So next slide, Bill. So we're going to talk about small scale farming and agribusiness. It can provide additional income if that's what you're looking for. But the first thing that you have to do is it's not just about growing what you enjoy. It is finding a market. If we're looking in that first, the previous slide where we're looking at profit, we're going to grow what the market demands. If we're feeding our family and friends, with a large garden, it is what we enjoy growing and what they enjoy eating. But we're going to kind of go over some of the profitable projects on your 5-acre property as we go through today. So next slide, Bill. So again, what I tell people when they come to me and they actually have a profitable enterprise in mind is don't get caught up on the fun part. The fun part is the actual growing and harvesting and all that kind of good stuff. You need to do a lot of market research before. If you're turning your 5 acres into a money-making endeavor, you don't want to raise something that you can't sell. And you may think it's the easiest thing in the world to grow, but if we can't sell it, we're not making money on that. So start with that market research. Is it in demand locally? And how are you going to get rid of this? We have this time investment. A lot of people like the idea of a farmer's market, and it's a great idea. But for the farmer, you have to pack up on a Friday. You have to pack up all those veggies and drive them to the farmer's market, sit outside all day Saturday while you sell this. And then you have to offload what you didn't sell on Sunday. So, just from that one day of market, we're looking at 3 days of being away from the farm. Next up, Bill. Bill, this is where you could try to play that video.
What's something people don't know about farming? Sometimes it can be too successful. In the wrong way. This is Bob. Bob had a dream. Bob wanted to be a farmer. So, Bob planted veggies on 5 whole acres in Hernando County. But Bob forgot one tiny detail, market research. Now he's got more zucchinis than he knows what to do with. And no customers in sight. Bob's family, not thrilled. Breakfast, zucchini pancakes. Lunch, zucchini sandwiches. Dinner, more zucchini. His wife, she's threatening to turn into a vegetable herself. His kids, they've started a secret zucchini strike. Moral of the story? Always do your homework, folks. Or you might end up with a zucchini crisis. So next time you think about starting a farm, remember Bob. And maybe, just maybe, diversify your crops. Thanks for watching. And if you have too many zucchinis, don't call Bob. He's had enough for a lifetime. This video is part of a class on what to do on 5 acres, taught by Dr. Stacy Strickland.
Awesome. Next slide, Bill. So when we're conducting market research, number one, talk to your community, to ask your friends, your neighbors, what would they buy from a local grower? What's in demand that is not being produced that they would like? In Hernando County, we have some really good sweet corn growers, and there's a market for there was a market for more than one sweet corn grower. So we have a couple sweet corn growers that are doing really well. And number two is visit those farmers markets to see what's selling well and talk to the vendors about their experience. One of our producers is most of our audience from Hernando County, or they a lot of Central Florida. So if I do talk a lot about Hernando County, I'm just kind of let's say it's Central Florida. But in Hernando County, we a really good friend of mine that is a farmer that always does the markets is Joanne Beasley. And so, we see Beasley Farms at a lot of the farmers markets, and, Joanne, I'm sure, is more than happy to talk to you about farming. I was just out at her place doing hurricane assessments. But check those online trends, look at online marketplaces. What we're trying to do is we're not trying to price our produce to compete with a grocery chain or anything like that. We're looking for some kind of special something that we're doing, whether it's organic, whether it is something that the grocery stores are not producing because, they would sell smaller volumes. But we're looking for something a little different. Next slide, Bill. So number step number 2 is to evaluate your property's potential. When we're in a really low growing area, things like citrus are not going to do well in an area that is extremely low and prone to flooding. Citrus likes to have that nice sandy soil that's well drained. Blueberries may do a little bit better in those types of mucky soils. So what grows well on your land? The first step of that is to do a soil test. That's going to give us a lot about our pH. And, in talking with people like Dr. Lester or myself, we can recommend plants that are going to grow maybe a little better. Another big thing is that local climate and growing season. I see a lot of folks that come from other places. They move into Florida. They're used to planting things like tomatoes and squash and peppers and things like that in the summer. And, that's not when we typically grow things here. So our summer crops are really going to be in the spring and the fall. And in the summer, basically, you're going to be stuck with things like okra and sweet potatoes. And, and so we're going to grow a lot of our veggie crops throughout the winter. We're going to probably need irrigation on some of these crops. So, that is a expense that you're going to have. But when we need water, we're going to need water. And, it's this time of the year, it starts drying up. And we may not get significant rainfall until May. So it does get very dry, and that is our fall growing season that we're in now. We're actually in our winter now, but we're starting our winter. But we do need access to irrigation. Okay, next slide, Bill. So when I'm looking at smaller properties, I'm looking at higher value crops to make that make sense on a smaller acreage. You've got a lot of the herbs and microgreens that are higher value crops that we can actually do pretty well with. I think you're going to have a speaker on some of these herbs coming up very soon. Specialty fruits for, we grow a lot of high bush blueberries here. And, we're timing a market window. If I was looking at a U-pick operation, I would actually start looking at some of the rabbit eyes that have some of the lower chill hours. A lot easier to manage than some of our high bushes. Figs, citrus, some of these weird little citrus, monk's hand is one of these. The weird and unusual. Greening has taken a really big hit, but we do have some varieties that are a little more resistant to HLB. So that is something that you should look at. And one of these varieties I really like a lot is a sugar bell. It's a type of mandarin, and it does really well. And other unique varieties, passion fruit, dragon fruit. And then we have cut flowers like sunflowers, zinnias, marigolds. They can be profitable and visually appealing. I know a lot of people have sunflower mazes in the fall. I worked with Sweetfield when they were just getting started down in Ozark Town, and they have a sunflower maze in spring, and I think they have a corn maze in the fall. But there's a lot of people. I know they are a wedding venue as well for pictures with sunflowers. But again, they're a little larger than 5 acres. But 5 acres of sunflowers is a lot of sunflowers. Next up, Bill. You can raise animals, but we're looking at really small animals. So we're looking at chickens, the small ruminants like goats, sheep, really small, not cattle. For cattle, we're going to need about 3.5 acres per cow. So on your 5 acres, you may have a cow calf that you can put in the freezer if you do have those pastures, but otherwise it's not going to be a profitable operation for you. Bill's already mentioned honeybees but that is another thing that you can do. But you've got to check these legal local zoning laws. Is your property properly zoned for what you're wanting to do, especially when we start introducing animals into the mix. Next. U-pick operations. There's a lot of the farms that I work with that are going to be U-picks. Invite customers. They pick on their own. We know that U-pick operations, we're going to lose an appreciable amount of fruit. One of the things I always like to do at U-picks, and it's actually kind of fun if you ever go out, and we look through skilled eyes because I'm used to watching farm laborers who are extremely efficient at picking whatever it is. Then I see the U-pick, and what'll happen with U-pick is the family will come over here. They'll start picking, say, strawberries or blueberries over in this area, and they get distracted very easily. So they don't go down the row. So they step over rows, they step on rows, they destroy plants. So you actually will spend a lot of time kind of cleaning up after you pick. And the field will not be picked uniformly. It will, there's patches where they will pick. You can host classes on gardening, crafts, homegrown products, seasonal attractions such as pumpkin patches, Christmas tree sales, spring flower events. Those are always pretty good events as well, and we have a lot of those in Central Florida. Next. You can always start small and scale up. This is that planning and budgeting part. So if you're wondering, can I do this? You can start small. You want to track those costs. If the purpose is to break even or to make a profit, we want to consider this as a business. And you can do value-added products, jam, soaps, dried herbs. So those, again, things like jams will have additional regulations that go along with those. Soaps, not so much. And so, Bill, next slide. So when we're marketing these products, this is another big one. And we've talked about a few of these. One of the things consumers really like the idea of being able to go to a farmer's market for a farm. That may not be the best option to be gone from the farm for 3 days just to sell one day at market. You can sell directly to your neighbors, word of mouth, social media groups, community boards. The farmers markets, roadside stands. There's a lot of the farmers that I've worked with like the roadside stands better because they can be at the farm working while another family member is actually running a cash register. They do not have that built-in time for travel that we would have with things like farmers markets. So we can set up online stores for online sales, especially for some of these little. There was a farm that I worked with a long time ago, and it was in one of the Central Florida counties. But they had a incredible online business, and it was hot peppers, and it was the really hot little Carolina Reapers, and the hotter the better, and they had an incredible business through, and that was one of those little weird niches that they were able to fill. Next, Bill. So in my 20 plus years as an agriculture agent, I've seen a lot of successes and a few failures. And the one thing that I can tell you about all the successful small farms of 5 acres in size is they have good business sense. They understand that this is a business that they're running. If they're running it for profit, if they're not, I've worked with a lot of people that have 5-acre gardens, and they can feed an entire neighborhood with a 5-acre garden. But again, that's just that decision that they make up front. Next up, Bill. So challenges and how to overcome them. the initial costs are going to be one of these, and your time management is going to be really, really important. For things like a 5-acre garden, you're probably not using hand tools for that. You're probably going to need the investment of some equipment. You're going to need a small tractor. You're going to need a disc, maybe a bottom plow. You're going to need a sprayer, whether you're spraying for organic pesticides to kill organically, or whether it's conventional pesticides, because guarantee you're going to have problems with pest and weather in Florida. We just went through a couple of hurricanes that any sweet corn that had ears lodged during those winds. So, you see a lot of sweet corn on the ground after that. So it's just something that goes along with living in paradise. Next up. So check your local rules and licensing and permitting. I'm going to mention cottage food, but that is one of the things that you can talk to your FCS agents about, is some of the cottage food laws that may allow for you to make certain items at home for sale. Make sure that you're able to sell the plants or food or products. If you're growing plants in a nursery, there's regulations. You have to be registered as a nursery with the Florida Department of Ag. So there's a lot of things that have to go along with this. That you will need to know. And that's one of the really good things about talking to your local extension agent. Next, Bill. So here's a few resources, the classes, the workshops like you're in right now. Our offices offer soil testing for homeowners. We generally don't go out, but for a lot of the big farms, we will go out and actually do soil testing for you. Send that off to Gainesville. Crop recommendations, you'll want to check for grants and local support programs for assistance on some of these things. And online learning, there's lots of courses. Again, the one thing that you have to keep in mind is, where's the information coming from? Is it a snake oil? Is this the newest get rich quick scheme in agriculture? We have those in agriculture. So, don't fall for any of those. Next up. So use trusted sources of information, and if you're deciding to go this small farm route, University of Florida IFAS has a really great website that Bob Hockmuth puts together up for the small farm and alternative enterprises. So if you do a quick Google search for small farms IFAS, it's going to take you to this page. It'll be the first one that pops up on Google. And they have everything from enterprise budget. So if you're going to grow 100 or you're going to grow tomatoes, they have 100 row foot budgets for tomatoes or squash, or and they have lots and lots of resources. So this is one of these trusted expertise that you need to be seeking out. So recap just what we've kind of talked about. Start with market research, plan and budget carefully, and be realistic about the cost and the time. And remember that time is a really big cost. Even if you don't have a lot of overhead, your time is very valuable. And explore multiple income streams. Grow plants, raise animals, offer experiences, create value-added products. These are the things that I see and I've seen over my 20 years that makes farms successful. And that's it, Bill.
Okay, great. That was great, Stacy. Really, really good information. And I know that over the years, I've spoken with a lot of people who come by our office and say, I've just moved to Florida, I got 5 acres, and sometimes they have really big dreams. I want to grow organic vegetables, and I want to have goats and chickens and timber, and I want to get rich, and I want to have cows. And It's like, okay, hold on here. You need to have realistic expectations, and it just takes a lot of learning, a lot of
Mhm.
study, a lot of learning, a lot of research on figuring out, because it is a business. It's going to be a lot of money up front.
Yeah,
How
absolutely. And
about
that's why,
retirement dreams?
yeah, that's why these educational things like you're offering, Bill, are so terribly important. It's better to have someone tell you these things than you figure them out yourself.
One of our
Yeah.
colleagues in Volusia County actually she and her husband started beekeeping. And she says, one thing we didn't think through was we've actually got to have babysitters when we're out of town. So we need bee babysitters. So it is important to do all the research.
I heard that from somebody else with farm animals and horses, and they say, you can't just take off for the weekend. You can't just put down a big bowl of food and water for all the animals and leave. Somebody has to check on them. Somebody has to feed them.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right.
So if anybody watching either live with us or recorded wants to get in touch with Dr. Stacy Strickland, there is his email address. So if you have any questions about starting a farm or starting a ranch or starting some kind of enterprise, or maybe you've already started and you have a question, you're having a problem, you need some resources, there's his email. Just go ahead and reach out to him. My email, if anybody needs to contact me, is right there. And the nice thing about Extension is we all work together as a team. So I don't have to know everything. Some days I really don't even have to know much, because I know a lot of other people who know a lot more than I do. So if you ask us a question, we'll find an answer to it. We'll find the expert. And of course, if you have really, really difficult questions, send them all to Wendy, please. And she'll forward them to whoever is best suited to answer that question.
Sure,
So,
I will, Bill. I can take it. Next week, we're going to have some really great speakers, more extension experts. We have Rebecca Elliott from Marion County, and she's going to be talking a little bit about herbs and health. And then Clarissa from Orange County is going to be talking about herbs and art, which is kind of a cool topic to blend both the health and the art side, because we know that sometimes partaking in arts into the arts and being social and having that time is also important for overall health. And we want to thank our amazing speakers today, our extension experts, Dr. Bill Lester and Dr. Stacy Strickland. And then anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I just shared 2 links on here from some things that I covered. A link to last week's Food Systems in Season that was on hydroponics and Roselle. So you can get a lot more information about them from watching that. And also one of our previous Food Systems in Seasons about some basic information on raising bees and a few things that you need to know and think about before you ever seriously consider buying a hive and buying the bees and setting them up in your backyard. So we have done over the years a number of different workshops on So You Have 5 Acres. It's kind of geared for people that have 5 acres and things about what you need to know about goats before you ever buy one, or chickens or bees or growing vegetables or other things. Unfortunately, I've seen a few people that kind of jump all in first and try to figure out what they're doing wrong second. So you don't want to be one of those.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, guys. It was great to be with you today. I've got to do farm visits.
There you go. Well, you should have some beautiful weather for it today.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Stacy.
Thanks so much, everybody. And we will see hopefully all of you back here again next week for another episode. But until then,
take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.